Welcome everybody. First of all, I am very glad to be with you today. My name is Dr. Abdurrahman Khalaf. I'm a lecturer of periodontology and implantology in Asyut University, and with me today, Dr. Hany. He's a resident in the same university. Our lecture will be focusing on digital daily workflow. We will discuss 10 keys that are very critical from our point of view. Let's start with the first key. First key is the planning. Planning is the key. As we all know that CompMCT is the main tool for implant planning. But if we are seeking to provide our patient with high-level restoration, CBCT is not enough. We have to transform our patient into a virtual patient, and that is called the KI step, computer-aided imaging. Of course, CBCT can give us an idea about the bone, which is very important in implant planning and in the implant surgical procedure, but unfortunately not enough. We need more data about the soft tissue, more data about the neighboring teeth, more data about the orientation of these teeth, and more data about the interocclusal space. This can be captured by an intraoral scanner or at least an extraoral scanner converting conventional impression into a digital model. But still a question, is this data enough? Of course, it's enough for most of the cases, but for more complicated aesthetic demanding cases or full arch cases, technically demanding cases, we still need more data and more tools, of course, to obtain this data. We need to know more about the maxillary orientation according to the horizontal plane, more data about the exact lip position, and more data about the dynamic smile of the patient and the midline exact position and the movement and trajectories of the lower jaw. So it's preferred in these technically demanding cases to make what is termed facial scanning. Facial scanner like Meet Smile is the first option, but if you don't have a facial scanner, you can compensate for this with excellent intraoral scanners like Orascan 3 that can scan both intraorally and extraorally in a very smooth way, like this case. Look at this full arch case. You should begin with the end in mind. In this case, we start with virtual extraction, then ideal tooth placement. Again, ideal tooth placement virtually, here I mean, which respect the bone and respect the aesthetic facial parameters, also respecting the occlusion. So ideal implant placement always start with ideal tooth placement. So we emphasize that you should start with the end in mind. Look how these implants are planned to be in a parallel way and in the same time within the bone and in the same time emerging ideally from the virtual restoration. Trust me, if you take your time in planning, your final prosthesis will be delivered as a piece of cake. Look how the implants are parallel and in the same time within the bone and in the same time emerging perfectly from your virtual final restoration. So we should begin with the end in mind. These are clinical photos for the stackable guides in place. Usually stackable guides are used either when you need to extract all teeth and in the same time utilize them to make your foundation guide to support it or make bone reduction before implant placement. And this is after extraction. Then we place the fixture placement guide. Note the parallelism of these prosthetically driven implants. This will positively, of course, influence the passivity and of course this will affect the longevity of your final restoration. So we get what we planned for. Look to the final result. Implant in parallel, implants within the bone, implant respect your final prosthesis. You can get this by two ways either by correct planning from the first or you have to be a magician. Of course, you are not a magician, you are a perfect dentist. So you have to follow the planning key. Here is a surgical guide fabricated according to our plan. To support the surgical guide with lateral horizontal fixation so we can make sure that our plan will be real without any minor deviation. Here is the final result as planned before. No surprises, I know what I will exactly do from the prosthetic phase. Here is the prosthetic part. In my opinion, intraoral scanner will make your prosthetic part very easy. No more nightmares in the implant prosthetic phase. All you need is an excellent, accurate intraoral scanner that can capture soft tissue well, especially in the lower arch. Of course, lower arch scanning completely different than the upper arch, especially in the full arch cases. Look how the temporary PMMA is merged well with the patient mouth intraorally and how the exit channels are emerging from the exact and ideal final prosthesis. Notice the position of the exit channel, neither violating the labial surface nor extending more palatally, just emerging in the exact planned implant position. Is the anterior prosthesis. Look to the delivery of our full arch monolithic restoration in a very easy manner. Of course, this delivery need accurate scanning and accurate capturing. So, delivery of monolithic zirconia screw retained pieces in just 5 minutes. Look how the ease of delivery of the full arch prosthesis. Very smooth workflow, just tightening the screw and occluding the X channel with Teflon and then composite. It's the final result. Adapting well. Okay, our second key is related to the first one. In other words, to translate your planning from virtual to reality, you should always go for fully guided surgical guides, not just guided. This guarantees that your implants will be placed in the exact planned implant position. Fully guided means that not only your osteotomy beds are created through the guide, but also fixture placement is completely under control by the guide. And this is very critical, especially in the immediate implant placement cases. By inserting the implant through the guide, you gain two main benefits. First, you will follow your primary plan exactly, and the second is that your osteotomy bed will be concise, and that guarantees adequate insertion torque, which is reflected in primary stability, as you always make your cutting in only one orientation and in one direction. Look to the ideal implant position. So high ins- Look to the ideal implant position. Of course, we start with planning and ideal tooth placement, which guide us to the ideal implant placement, as we said before. The surgical guide in place, and it is the osteotomy bed. Look to the ideal implant position according to our plan and emerging from the flap, high insertion torque, then reflecting the flap. Look to the virtual versus reality, the same. Start our guided bone generation, fixation of the membrane. In the same time, I am assured as my implant is in the exact planned position, irrespective of the bone augmentation procedure. Here is sculpturing of the soft tissue by custom healing apartment, and then scanning by scan body scanning and taking a photo for digital smile designing and knowing the midline and the lip line and the smile line positions, period designing of the final prosthesis, and utilizing tilted exit channel, so avoiding any violation to the label surface by the exit channel. Here is the digital lab analog in 3D printed cast and the final delivery to the patient. No matter your case in the aesthetic zone or in the molar area, heel ridge or immediate implant placement, even at single or multiple or even full arch case, fully guided will always ensure high success level of your cases. Previously, usually in these cases, we make extraction and wait 2 to 3 months until the ridge heals to accomplish an early or conventional implant placement. This perfect article by Turnow and Smith reveals the eligibility of immediate implant placement in the molar sites and classifies the sockets into type A, type B, and type C. Type A, in which the implant is completely contained within the septal bone. Type B, partially contained by the septal bone. Type C, no septal bone is available for implant stabilization. Implant must engage the inner aspect of the socket wall or apical bone to be stable. Also, the implant should be placed at the base of the root trunk, which guarantees adequate running room for proper prosthetic emergence profile. Here I mean the implants, immediate implants in the molar area. But please pay some attention to the requirements that Minister now put to accomplish this procedure. In the conclusion, he said when initial implant stability can be attained. Also, in some conditions, especially in the extracted sockets, you may perform your osteotomy bed in one place and then insert the implant in another place. Usually, this new location is not prosthetically driven and not satisfying for you. Please remember me in this condition. Again, the Foley guidance usually ensures both primary stability and in the same time no slippage and the implant installation in the prosthetically planned position. By Foley guidance, our treatment power increases thanks to the digital complete control. Immediate implant placement in the molar area for type A or type B or even type C can be accomplished in a perfect workflow and predictable. Also, our healing abutments are customized and printed with a surgical guide before the operation. The customized healing abutment landing correctly in its place, adequately out of occlusion, and also sculpturing the soft tissue perfectly. Also, printing your healing abutment usually costs you quarter of the price if you buy it from the implant manufacturer, which in my opinion very important. The third key will talk about scan marker or manual position. Digital workflow for implant prosthetics is to some extent similar to conventional workflow. In the conventional implant impression technique, you have to select between direct technique, which means taking your impression directly over your abutments after your adjustment intraorally, which is mean you put your abutment intraorally and make chairside adjustments, then take your impression directly like the crown of bridge. But of course, we don't recommend this technique. You will face difficulty in capturing subgingival abutment margin in addition to increasing your chair side time. Another conventional method is indirect technique by using impression coping. These impression coping may be fixture level or abutment level impression coping, and in the same time it may be open tray or closed tray. Open tray technique with polyether impression material is the best conventional choice in my opinion. In multi-implant cases, you have to splint your impression copings, also verification jig in the next visit to be sure of the passivity of your future prosthesis. Of course, multiple steps when you follow the conventional way, especially in full arch cases, multiple steps and technique sensitive in which you have to splint your impression coping and in the same time make verification jig, then screw retained pipe block. So multiple steps and technique sensitive. Let's talk about the digital workflow. Digitally, the direct technique in which you scan the apartment intraorally is referred to as manual positioning, and the indirect technique in which you utilize a scan body that act as an implant locator like impression copying but digital. You select screw retained, which means scan body scan. So manual positioning is direct technique, scan body scan, indirect technique. Here is the workflow of the digital direct technique, manual positioning. We just scan the apartments intraorally. You need a perfect scanner in metal scan. In most cases, you need to scan the apartment separately in addition to the intraoral scan and then merge them both. So you have all subgingival parts of the apartment captured well. Simply, manual positioning means that you will scan the apartment directly and will position your exit channel manually during design step. Then scan the oppose and the total job. Here we finish our scan. We use this technique, I mean here the manual positioning or direct digital technique, only if the implant supplier doesn't have scan body of the fixture or if a patient comes to your clinic with an unknown fixture brand that have been inserted by another doctor. In digital direct technique, deep subgingival margin can be easily captured thanks to the alignment of the extraoral apartment scan with the intraoral scan. Note here how the margins fit perfectly. In the contrary to the direct conventional technique, in which subgingival margins of your apartment can be captured well, and so the marginal fit of your final crown will not be acceptable. Implant proceeds utilizing the scan body. It's the indirect technique. For indirect workflow, you select scan body scan. You will scan the emergence profile first, then in the second step, the scan marker will be captured. The scan marker will locate the fixture virtually at high accuracy level. In my opinion, it is the most accurate and smooth workflow. The only reason that push you for not using scan body from the first, your implant supplier doesn't offer it. Here is the workflow of indirect technique in which you scan the scan body. How the scanner captures the emergence profile just in a couple of seconds. Very easy to scan your full arch. Then make digging to this area in which you will in the second step scan the scan bodies alone, and then you will scan the opposing and the total jaw in the conventional way. So it's the most accurate, most straightforward, most predictable method. Scan bodies in the picture directly or over the multi-unit apartment can be utilized. Of course, no need for splinting in full arch cases like impression copy. The fourth key will deal with the step after scanning and the type of substructure accessory you will select. But still there is another question. What type of apartment you will select? Are you going to put your superstructure, I mean here the crown, directly over the apartment, or you are going to make a custom apartment first and then glue your superstructure over it? On the left side we can see different stock apartment types like solid apartment, tie base, tie cylinder, and on the right side a pre-mill and zirconia glued on tie base for customization of the apartment. So we have two options. your crown glued directly in your substructure like diabetes, or you will make first custom abutment and then your crown will be glued over this custom abutment. In all cases, take the easier method and the shortest method. I mean here to glue your superstructure directly over the stock abutment or diabetes. But in some scenarios, you obligated to customize your abutment. I will summarize the three scenarios in which you are usually have to go for selecting the custom abutment choice. The first scenario for customized abutment where your access channel will violate the labial surface and will compromise the aesthetics, and in the same time this channel has more than 20 or more degrees. So the angled screw channel maneuver for the design software can't manipulate it. The custom abutment of course can solve this problem with minimum loss. The second case where there is no common path of insertion between your implants, so the custom abutment can correct the angulation so they are nearly parallel. Of course, multi-unit abutment also with different angulation is one of the solutions. Passive seating without customization in this case is not easy as you think. The design of the custom abutment to modify the angulations. Look how the abutment in the tooth number 4 has 12-degree change and the abutment in the tooth number 6 has nearly 14-degree angle change. So both are nearly parallel after selecting customization. Unique path of insertion is now more affordable. The design of the superstructure in the same step of custom abutment fabrication. Look here to the reality versus virtual. Look how the custom abutment can manipulate these difficult cases and we can get parallelism between the abutments. Complete passive seating with a final restoration over custom abutment. The last scenario for utilizing custom abutment is when the primary path of insertion of the crown will have a collision and intersection with the nippering tooth. So its fabrication is not possible without opening the proximal contact, otherwise the crown will intersect with the nippling teeth and will not seat it easily. So by choosing a custom abutment option, you have a secondary insertion direction that will modify your original path of insertion and guarantee passive seating of the final prosthesis without nippling teeth intersection or collision. Look how the custom abutment has modified the path of insertion by nearly 10 degrees. Now the final crown will be seated passively in place without collision with the nippling teeth. The fifth key. The fabrication of prostheses in the aesthetic zone is not controlled only by substructure or nippering and opposing teeth. The face photo or scan has very beneficial data regarding neckline and the position and the angulation of this midline, the smile line, the lip line, which affect designing and orientation of the final restoration, of course. In this case, an angle screw channel was utilized so the access channel emerged bilaterally without any need for custom abutment. In single crown cases, engaging abutment, I mean here abutment or tie base with a hex, should be used as it acts as anti-rotational feature. Here is the final monolithic zirconia crown that fulfills both aesthetic and functional outcome and is completely satisfying to the patient. The X channel emerging from the cingulum, which is the best scenario. Here is the pre-apical radiograph show the Foley seating of the crown with no crystal bonus.
Another question regarding this key, which is a tricky one. We see two photos or two pictures for the same patient with two different maxillary orientations. So, what is the right maxillary orientation? Is number one right or number two? At the first glance, you can believe that they have the same orientation. In fact, we don't know what is the right maxillary orientation. To answer this question and know the right maxillary arch orientation, we should remember the function of the equipment termed FISPO. FISPO relates the maxillary arch to the condyles so that we can get two important pieces of information. The first one, how the maxillary plane fit in the space. So if the patient has a count or some kind of problem, we can manage it easily by relating the maxillary arch to the horizontal plane. The second piece of information that can we get from the face boom is knowing the proper arc of closure that is best related to the patient mouse, and that will minimize adjustment chair side. So by drawing a horizontal line, we can see the difference between the two pictures. The maxillary orientation is different from picture one and picture two, and we still not know the right maxillary orientation. And here come the function of the face scan. Face scanning can accomplish the face poo function in a perfect way by aligning the face scanning to the intraoral scanning. We can easily align the maxillary arch to the horizontal plane, as we see in the video. Also, you can capture the trajectories of the jaw movement. So to sum up, face alignment scan can be considered as a digital face poo. We go back for our case. We design our procedures virtually, but we don't know if it is the right maxillary orientation or not. And guess what? In reality, there is a surprise. Bad news. It is not the correct maxillary orientation. So we make a face scanning by our oral scan 3. Of course, at the time, Metasmile was not produced yet, and readjust our work in the correct orientation to manage discounting. Look now at the case. The full arch restoration will be FP3 on the right side and FP2 on the left side. So the lab can manage discounting after we supply them with the extra information, which is the face scan. Here is the final restoration in the patient mouse. Look how it fits perfectly with the patient's face. Midline position is accurate. Smile line, lip line, position of the teeth. And here is the beneficial of the face scanner. Face scanner can allow us to provide our patient with high quality restorations.
Let's start with the key number 6, which is discussing how we can calculate the stability of the implant. If implant procedure is among your daily workflow, so you should test your implant stability before the prosthetic phase. You should put in mind that the power of healing is completely different between patients. Also, if you are seeking immediate loading, you should have an adequate amount of stability. Two reliable methods of checking the implant stability is available now. The first one is resonance frequency analysis, like Penguin, utilizing multipig, or still utilizing the SmartPix. The second technique is damping capacity, like any check device, which is directly utilized against the healing abutment. Here is the decision tree for selecting your loading protocol. Of course, for immediate loading, you should have plus 65 for splinted full arch cases and above 70 for single cases. But you should have multi-big compatible with every implant platform. The main benefit when using a damping capacity device like any check is that you don't have to buy special multi-big for every implant. You can use it directly on any superstructure like healing abutment or other superstructure. So smart pick by Ostel is not autoclavable, single use, which mean high running cost. Multi-pick by Penguin is autoclavable, while Inichick don't need any picks. It can be used on any superstructure I said before, and also it can be used against the teeth. Here is the review of the literature showing the reliability of the damping capacity when compared with the Peritest and IceQ device. For me, I use both of them, and they give me nearly the same numbers. Here is how we use InCheck. The main benefit of using damping capacity is that you there is no need for a disconnection of the healing abutment between checking. So you can use it in the first week, second week, third week, and anytime you can check your implant stability. Of course, you can't do this when we use smart picks, as the disconnection in the second and third week is very dangerous and can interfere with the normal healing phase of your fracture. Also, you should put in mind that reducing the number of apartment disconnection contributes significantly in reducing the amount of marginal bone loss. The seventh key is a new protocol in scanning that we have developed and it will be published soon. The main idea is that the scan body with different lenses are utilized not only as fixture locators as we said before, which is the conventional use and the main use of these scan body, but they are also used for face scan alignment and to record jaw relations of completely edentulous patient. By choosing the suitable scan body lens compatible with the correct vertical dimension of occlusion, you can use this scan body in recording the jaw relation. He- Here is a scan body act as a stopper for with the opposing teeth. Look how the scanner in this video captures the bite easily in the correct vertical dimension of occlusion. Of course, there is a lot of guidelines that should be respected in this technique, which we are going to uncover in our new article. We recommend intraoral scanners with high depth of field and wide field of view so you can register the jaw relation of these tough cases. The maxillary and the mandibular arches in their relation. Look how the scan body is also used for perfect alignment of the face in completely edentulous cases. Designing the teeth is facially driven, as we said before, respecting the correct occlusal plane of orientation. Also, the smile line and the position of the midline and the lip line all will be taken into consideration as we discussed before. Key number 8 related to the final checking of implant prostheses and their cementation to the substructure. In my opinion, we should have a 3D printed model in every case, with a digital lab analog for the cementation of your final restoration, extraorally in the exact orientation as the visual design. Also, you can check your occlusion, your proximal contact, the integral surface, the passive fit of the prosthesis, and so on. So there is no surprises in front of the patient. This is what you get just in a couple of minutes of delivery, fully seated restoration, perfect proximal contacts, perfect occlusion, and perfect integral surface adaptation. No even minor adjustment chairside you will need. This is another photo showing the consistency between virtual and reality. The patient still needs some fillings in the anterior teeth, of course. Occlusal view after screw channel sealing. X-ray with the prosthesis in place. X-ray, of course, never lies. Look at the margins adaptation and how the restoration are fully seated. Another case in the aesthetic zone, I termed it a dangerous zone. It's more difficult and more technique sensitive. The two implants in the ideal position thanks to the correct planning from the beginning, fully guided surgery, of course, cast designed in model created in accufab, and then accurate 3D printed cast by accufab D1S ensures accurate position of your digital lab analog that guarantee passive seating of your final restoration. Note the hexed type is usually used in single restoration, of course, to avoid rotation of your final restoration. Final result satisfying for your patient, just monolithic zirconia and extrinsic stains. No extra of efforts are needed, and your X channels emerging perfectly from the singula, resulting in perfect function and aesthetic of the restoration. Here is the X-ray, show the parallel view between the implants and its final position, and look how the restorations are fully seated and the margins adapted well to the substructure. This key shows how we can preserve the patient's original bite and transfer it to the final prosthesis. One of the main benefits of the digital era is the preservation of the original bite by a pre-operative scan. Even if you lose the bite due to the preparation of all teeth, as in full mouth rehabilitation cases, there is no problem. You can easily align the original bite scan and make digital cross mounting in a very accurate manner. Here is the case before preparations of the anterior teeth. Teeth after preparation and losing the original bite in reality, but still this bite is preserved in the virtual software. So in reality we lose the bite, but in virtual we after preparing the teeth and lose the stoppers, we still have the relation between the upper and the lower arch. Here is the designing of the screw retained prosthesis and to the crown and bridge anterior restorations. Look to the full arch rehabilitation case. In this video we show the workflow for digital cross mounting. In the first step, you should select a pre-operative scan so you can preserve the original bite. Then the scanning software will merge the jaw scan with the pre-operative scan. It's the pre-operative scan before the preparation, then scanning of the opposite arch, then scanning to the bite. After finishing these 3 scans, you will start your preparations, and there is no problem if you lose the primary or the original jaw relation between the 2 arches. The software preserves this bite. Here is the bite, and it's registered in the software. Now, after preparation of the anterior teeth, you scan, and the software in a very easy manner will align the both scans, the pre-operative scan, which preserves the bite, and the jaw scan after preparation in a one total jaw. Here is scanning of the scan buds in a very smooth workflow, and finish of the case. So we preserve the bite and scan the prepared tooth, and in the same time scan the implant with the scan body scan technique. Finally, we want to tell you that you should work in a team. Always work in a team. You will get more. There is no single person that can do everything. Here is our team. We are making surgical parts and prosthetic parts, and designing and fabrication of our restorations. Thank you to all of our team, and thank you for the Shine 3D team for their perfect support. I'd like to end my lecture with this case that will show how virtual planning enhances the level of quality of the operation, as every future step is performed already during the planning. So the operation is done twice. In the digital era, we always told the students that we make our operation 2 times, one time virtually and the second time in reality. So we start with fabrication of the surgical guides, which is fabricated according to the comprehensive planning we start with. Then creation of our osteotomy bed, and then of course insertion of our implant in the planned position through the guide. Here is creation of the bed, and our osteotomy site is created exactly as we planned. Move of the guide, the location of the site. Then here is the implant insertion through the guide. So we ensure the plan which we accomplish in the first, is translated in the exact manner. But this case need ridge augmentation, so we start our ridge augmentation procedure and make our remote flap design with two vertical releasing incision, reflection of the labial flap, and exposing of the bone deficiency area. Gently reflect the papilla. Okay. We start our reflection of the flap. During the planning, we notice, and after the implant insertion, we notice dehiscence in the labial bone. Look to the reality, the same. So the amount of dehiscence in labial plate of bone that was expected before, and look how the implant gain high primary stability even in a very challenging case. Limited amount of bone, but still the implant installed in the exact position and gain good primary stability. Here is the amount of dehiscence which was expected before, no problem. We will start our ridge augmentation. Here is virtual versus reality, the same, which respect and reflect the accuracy of our tools. Horizontal releasing incision, so our flap will be tension free. And start the augmentation procedure. Autogenous bone harvesting by bone scraper. Collagen membrane in place. Usually we start the fixation of the membrane from the palatal side. Then adapt the autogenous bone first in the dehiscence area. Then cover it with the non-resorbable xenograft material. Then reflecting the collagen membrane and fixation of it with Pontex well in the labial area. We make overcorrection to compensate for the amount of the future bone resorption. Adaptation of the collagen membrane and fixation of it with Pontex. Bone stability and membrane fixation. Here is tension-free primary window closure, and after that, we start the prosthetic phase. 3D printed temporary crown and double cross suture for coronal enhancement of the soft tissue. Here is the final crown, the 3D printed model. Here is final case ready for delivery. Final delivery, and the patient is very happy. Finally, I want to express my deep thanks to Shine 3D for their respectable, durable, and very accurate products. I am a long-term user of their intraoral scanner, extraoral scanner, and 3D printer. And nowadays, I start using their facial scanners. Also, I want to thank Clara, Winnie, Ryan, Kevin, and all the perfect group Shine 3D. Thank you for your good listening. Thank you all.